Thank you all for coming today. And can I see a show of hands for our first timers? Okay, great. So, Season Conversations was started because we've noticed that baby boomers are not making decisions for themselves. Everyone else is making decisions for them. And that can cause a lot of chaos and heartbreak and just, well, and loss of finances. You know, from moving from place to place or not moving from, you know, not putting things in order for the most part. And leaving your houses there, and just taxes aren't paid, so it hurts communities. So there's a lot of things that happen by not making decisions. So we want to provide you, empower you, and equip you with information and professionals that you can trust that will help guide you along the way and help you with your decision making, so that while you're able to be in control, you are. So I'm Angela McCants. I'm an agent with Dave Perry Miller. I'm also a certified senior advisor. And we've got legacy partners that help with this so that it is free. And we encourage you to invite your friends. We do it once a month. Try to do it every second Thursday of the month. So our partners, legacy partners, are Harvest Estate and Appraisal Services. It's Janice. We have, next, Tana. She's from Dave Perry Miller as well. Luxury Portfolios, one of our, United Cleaning. He's new as a legacy partner. He's just joined us, so we're excited. He's probably at the nonprofit location right now because they're getting ready to start. Okay, I'm your CSA also, and KGW Law. That's Wincorn. And they do all kinds of law, but they do estate planning as well. And they are going to be the ones kind of help you with getting CE courses if that's something that you could use. Consider it done. She's putting all of this together, and she's virtual, so she won't show up, but she shows up all the time. And we founded this through the Certified Senior Housing Professional designation. She has a gerontology background, and so she trained us to really get it. We did 50 activities to understand what seniors go through, and then had to do an essay on each one of those activities. So you have to be pretty serious, and it has to be, a heart thing to work with seniors. It's not always easy. It takes longer. You have to have patience, and you really have to have the heart. So with that in mind, we have been doing seminars for the past few months about living options. Sometimes we don't realize we have options. So we've been trying to get the word out for independent, assisted, and now we're talking about the continuing care communities, continuing care retirement communities. CCRCs, they are also called. And we put it out there to ask. We don't have that many in our area. So we put out the ask, and we got CC Young to volunteer. And so we were very thankful that CC Young is one of our guests this morning. Come on up, please. This is Sarah. Help me pronounce your last name.
Hofferty.
Hofferty. So thank you for being here, Sarah.
Yeah.
And then we have a placement officer that does helps you figure out what the best place for you is, and will help you get situated, and she'll tell you more about that. Amandita Johnson, please come up. And she's with Care Patrol. She's also a certified senior advisor. So turn to your neighbor, someone you can see, and let them know that you're going to learn something today. All right. Well, thank you again, and let's get started. Let's see. We're going to have a surprise guest in a little while. Should it be? Which seat?
Either one.
Okay. Oh, another thing is, we encourage you to come back because you were here, and when you fill out that survey, we'd love get your feedback. When you fill it out, complete it, we're going to punch this. You get 4 punch cards, and then you're going to have a cool gift card on your 5th time that you attend. So don't forget your punch cards to fill out those surveys. And at the end of our talk, not really at the end, but when I finish asking the questions that are prepared, you're going to have questions along the way. Please write them down so that you don't forget them. And did you need your sheet? Okay. Yeah, yes. And then we will open it up for you to ask questions as well. So we're going to get started with Amandita. Would you please share your name, who you represent, and your experience in senior living?
Sure. I'm Amandita Johnson with Care Patrol. I owned at North Dallas Territory. And I basically help families find assisted living, independent living, in-home care, hospice, really anything to do with elderly care. I'm there for them. And I am fairly new to this senior services space, but I came from a healthcare insurance background where I worked with doctors, nurses, network professionals on levels of care, cost of care. And so my focus is really on health.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Hofferty, and I'm the Senior Living Advisor, Counselor with CC Young. I've been in the industry working for non-for-profits and faith-based retirement communities for 30 years. And I've traveled all over, originally from Illinois, and I've been all over the country building new construction projects or getting communities out of financial difficulties.
Thank you. Very good. All right. So first, let's talk about that name, Continuing Care Retirement Communities. So there's some confusion about what that means. Can you explain that to us?
A continuing care retirement community encompasses every senior's, everything that they would possibly need throughout their aging years. So residents usually enter into a continuing care retirement community independently, and then as their needs change, they can also have home health care that comes into their apartment, and we have a component of a home health care. If they become ill, like cancer or anything, we have a hospice program. So they have every level of care that you would need. So a continuing care will provide independent living, assisted living, memory care, long-term care, and also rehab care, which is a short-term care stay through Medicare, and have their own physical therapy departments and all that. So if something should happen, they don't have to go anywhere else out to resource that. We have everything, and we have outreach people that will go to the hospital, figure out what they need, and get them back home. So.
Okay, thank you. And I had a friend that was there, and she had the most beautiful view of the White Rock Lake. Oh my gosh.
You probably know her.
Yeah, and she really enjoyed it.
Good.
And I also visited your rehab.
It's
state of the art, isn't it?
It's state of the art. It's a state of the art rehab, and our rehab department is CC Young, so we don't contract any of that rehab out. So it's our employees that are responsible. So our residents are able to get the same rehab person every day, and so our success rate is huge.
Okay, all right. Is there anything you could add on Amandita, maybe like the licensing? How does that work?
Yes.
How do you know a CCRC versus a continuum of care?
Right. So, well, there is a list from the Texas Health and Human Services on the different assisted living, right? Your retirement homes and independent living are not licensed. So when we do see it, one of the columns talk about if they are continuing care communities, and we go visit them. So I've been to 3 in the area. You said there's not a whole lot of them. There really isn't if you're just looking at a 10-mile radius, right? So they're pretty unique. I may have been to 4, but it's been a while. And the licensing piece of it really applies to the assisted living component, and then there's the skilled that has both the state and the federal licensing, and rehab would fall under that. But yeah.
Okay, good. So there is a difference between continuum of care and continuing care?
Well, I think in our literature, we're a continuing care retirement community, but we talk about the continuum.
Okay.
So, and I think that it's important that when you're looking at a continuing care retirement, continuing care retirement community, and there's places that say with the continuum of care, they might miss out on the skilled nursing part, or they might miss, but they have independent living, they might have assisted living and some memory care, but they don't have the skilled component of it. So then you're going to be forced to make another move.
Okay.
So, but a continuing care retirement community has all aspects of the levels of care that you would need throughout your lifetime.
Perfect, thank you. And who oversees the licensure part of it?
Oh, well, of course, we all have to be licensed, and so through Medicare, they also give ratings on your services. And so if you're a Medicare facility with rehab and things like that, your home health care to where Medicare takes care of that, there has to be a licensed facility. But when you're in an assisted living or anything, it's licensed care.
From the state?
Yes, from the state, yes.
Okay. And one thing that most people struggle with is the upfront investment in moving into a CCRC.
You know, I think that the investment is actually small with the benefits that you get of making a move to a retirement community. People that stay in their homes don't age as well. They become sedentary. They don't get out to the socialization. So the Cleveland Clinic did a study for aging, and they put out a book, Live Long, Die Short. And it found that people that moved into a continuing care retirement community when they were active and healthy had increased life expectancy of 7 years, but the happiness that developed with it is unbelievable. I think today's society is such that we don't know our neighbors anymore. And I think that when you make a move to a continuing care retirement community, it kind of feels like you're in a family. When we were growing up, we rode our bicycles in the street. The neighbors all knew each other. You had a really strong sense of community. If something happened in the neighborhood, everybody came running, and you had a really strong sense of family. Well, when you make a commitment to an entrance fee retirement community, you're not going anywhere else like that. Most people will sell their homes and place that investment into the community. It practically, on square footage, costs about the same amount of being in your home. And you get the meals, you get the housekeeping, activities galore, sense of you're taking the what ifs off your shoulders, and it's about the best gift you could ever give your family. And but you have a strong sense of community, and that's what I feel, very strong sense. My community is that it's a family, and people help each other, and it's just a much nicer way to age. And I think everybody says, I wish I'd done it, would have done it sooner versus, waiting too long. So it's a nice.
Okay, thank you. As a placement officer, how would you help determine if that's a fit for them or an Amandina?
So, yeah, I mean,
Or
I
how
think,
would they determine? What questions would you ask
Right.
when they go to visit?
right, and that is part of our assessment at the very beginning of finding out what they're about as a person, not just their health, right? And the financial piece of it is a huge part of that decision. But it's also an emotional decision because the location is a big thing. Is it close to their loved ones or friend or power of attorney person? And another thing is, how do they respond to risk? So if you are selling a home for $300,000, $500,000, and a significant part of it is going into a CCRC, are they able to say, I can trust this institution to cradle me, basically, from retirement to grave? Okay, so it's a big decision, and to be honest with you, not a lot of people will do it. There's a small percentage, but as she said, and I don't have a contract with CCRC, so I'm not paid by them, but I'm just going to say this, to be honest with you, the planning component of it is taken care of at the very onset. Okay, so if you are planning for retirement at independent living, then assisted living, then skilled, you're planning 3 different times. Whereas in CCRC, you're planning from the very beginning, and they basically just take you, right, in that whole continuum of care and continuing care. So that's the long answer to that.
Okay. So I'm sure you all are writing down those questions because I may be leaving holes. Go right ahead and write them down. So does any portion of the entrance fee ever get refunded or reimbursed? And how does that work?
Very good point. Yeah, different continuing care retirement communities have different entrance fees. At my community, CC Young, we actually have rental options available to people to come in that don't want to pay the upfront costs. So we're able to work with somebody that has great monthly incomes, like school teachers or people that served in civil service things, military. So we do have a rental option available. But by paying the entrance fee, it brings your monthly fee down to about what it would cost you to stay in your home. And it's 90% refundable. And different communities work in different ways. And some places with entrance fees, that they keep the entrance fee until you leave, like skilled nursing. You don't get your money refunded back to you. In our community, when you go to the next level of care, we put your entrance fee into a bank account that you can spin down for that added cost. So you're guaranteed to get your money back. But if you want to wait for it, the units have to be resold and occupied for the person if they just happen to pass away in their unit. That's how they get we resell them. So I think it's important that you look at occupancy levels in retirement communities and such to know that, and you don't want to go into one too that's just building all the time, and then you're going to have people, the older ones aren't going to sell. So it's a kind of a path to follow that you have to really believe in the organization, look how many years they've been in business, make sure that they're a true non-for-profit. It's important that some people, it's a faith-based retirement community, definitely run a little bit different thing for the for-profit, because there are continuing cares in the for-profit industry also. So it's kind of a slippery path. I have to say that probably in our community that CC Young, we have over 200 activities. It's open to the public. So anybody can, in ages 55 or older, can join the Point and join our activities. So we provide a ministry to everyone in the community. And that's really a very, very important factor, that we are open to the public. We welcome all. all faiths, all religions, all types, colors and stuff. So it's a great place. And but it's a tough path to go down. Talk about the refunding of the money. If most people will live in a retirement community for 10 years, well, by paying the entrance fee, we have paid back our loan. So our monthly fees are based on operations. And so it's not based on occupancy. And so when you pay an entrance fee, it goes back to pay our bondholders. And then monthly fees cover your monthly costs. So you'll save, comparing a rental, in this area, comparing a rental place to an entrance fee place, our monthly fees are $2,000 less per month, and in square footage comparison. And if you take, the average person will stay and live in a retirement community for over 10 years. We have people at CC Young that's lived there for 30 years, and Lori will be one of those people. But so you take 12 times 2, that's $24,000 more per year, and you usually have to get into your assets to make up that extra income. And so if you take your home value that's doing nothing for you, it's a burden. You can place it into a product similar size and place your home value into the entrance fee, and then you don't have to worry about if the air conditioner breaks or anything else like that, the maintenance, the headaches and all that, those types of things. It actually turns out better to go into an entrance fee based community. And I always look at people and say, what would I do for my mother? And so if I'm talking to somebody that's not in good health, don't know. If I'm talking to somebody that doesn't want to exercise and age successfully, a CCRC, you can be housed anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I discussed those options too. So it's important that
If you're not going to take
you got to take advantage of the product
benefits
to get the benefits of the
Gotcha.
product. And so it's not, if people aren't going to take advantage and embrace the community, embrace the wellness factors involved in it, and the food and all that sort of stuff, don't spend the money on it.
Okay. Thank you for that honesty.
And I wanted to add to that as well, because people are shocked when they find out what the entrance fee is. Please remember that skilled services is really expensive. If you do not qualify for Medicaid, it can go up to $300-400 a day. That's $12,000, $15,000 a month. So if you're in that skilled services for a year, that's 6 figures. And there's no guarantee that when you have liquid assets, because you sold a home, there's kind of a look back period. I don't want to get into the technical piece of it, but you're not buying into just a promise. You're buying into real cost of what it is when you go into assisted living, which is also pretty expensive, maybe half the cost of skilled nursing, plus your skilled nursing services. And God forbid you're going to need memory care, because memory care is very expensive. So if let's just say you have Alzheimer's on both sides of the family, and if your mother was diagnosed at 65 or 70, and you'll most likely get it, you're really making sure that you're making those decisions ahead of time. And as she said, you're getting that money back, 90% of it. Some places it's 95%. You know that if it doesn't work for you, it's fine. But don't think that you're going to get that money and get to invest it and live great, because as you age, you're going to need more care. So you're going to spend money anyway. That's how I see it.
Good point. And when you think about, Sarah, when you think about the types of people who choose to move into your community, what would you say describes them?
Well, our retirement, CC Young is a very casual community, very welcoming, and we were faith-based, and so the spiritual aspects is important to our residents. I think that I have to laugh. I said, they want the casualness. They've worked hard. They're very successful people. But when we first built the Overlook, the residents said we wanted to have a policy like a collared shirt and khaki pants, you know. And they politely said blue jeans are pants. And so they wear shorts in the dining room and t-shirts at noon. And we make them put their blue jeans on at night. But we're a really more casual community, and I think that that's a part of the reason that's attractive is that our doors are open. And we want to provide a service for everyone. And so with the open door policy, some people want the private country club. And we're definitely not the private country club, but our services, our activities, everything about what we offer on our campus is 10-star, from our health care all the way through. And so, but we're very, very casual, and after last, we have Ollie learning through the University of North Texas, so we get a lot of people that come in and take college classes, and you know, our residents will have to sit in the back row if they don't get, you know, and they're happy to do that, and that's my type of residents. They want it to have a community feel. They want to be casual. They just want to be good Christian people, or just good people, I should say.
Okay. And you mentioned the Point. What is that?
The Point is a Center for Arts and Education that has been on our campus for now 11 years, and going on 12 years. C.C. Young's 103 years old. But that building was donated, and so with the donation of us accepting it, it's open to the public. And so it's $23 a month. People can come in and take up to 200 different classes. We have 6 exercise classes a day. We provide Ollie Learning. We have, all our instructors are professional instructors. We don't have one activity person trying to be all things. So when we do a painting class, we have a professional artist that comes in and teaches the painting class. We provide the canvas, the brushes, and all that. And it's a great way that we can provide a service to all seniors. And for $23 a month, you can't even go to a movie. And we have movies once a week, and we serve free popcorn. Nice. So, but the Point, I have information of our activity calendar back there, and with the Point membership, so if anybody's interested. But I think it's also important if you have a loved one that not everyone can afford to live in a retirement community, but if someone's shut in or you know, just not getting out, or if they have a loved one that they have a caregiver that can take them to the Point, we love it. We absolutely love to provide activities and services for all.
Like day services.
What?
You have day services for non-residents.
Yeah, we don't have day service. They have to be independent, but we have people that come in with caregivers and do the activities. Yes, but they have to be assisted because we don't have the staff to watch them.
Okay, that's helpful to know. And how many can you hold at the Point?
I think our seating is probably 140 in the auditorium.
That's nice. Very good. Okay, well, we actually have a person in the audience here today who lives at C.C. Young. I'd like to have her up now. Lori? So we're going to ask you about your experiences.
Okay.
Yeah, first could you tell us your full name again?
Lori Mercer.
Mercer, okay. And when and why did you choose to move to a senior community?
Officially moved to C.C. Young on July the 9th of 2021, so I've now met my 2-year mark.
Okay.
I have been thinking of moving. I was living and working in St. Louis until January of 2021, and started thinking, what will I do? I had moved from Arizona to St. Louis for a job, and I took my parents with me, so they were living with me and then passed away during that time, and I decided at that point I had no other family in St. Louis, so I wanted to to move closer to where I had family. And I have a niece that lives here in Dallas, and a brother and sister-in-law, my niece's parents, who live in Austin. So I decided to move to Dallas because that's where I had family. And I started doing some research and contacted Sarah probably in February or March of 2021.
So you found her online?
It was kind of a combination of a couple of things. My niece, who lives here in Dallas, had friends that had been residents here some time ago, and so they had been on the campus grounds multiple times. And I actually had a work connection with the CC Young Therapy Department before they went what's called in-house. They're now CC Young employees, but I was the therapy manager overseeing therapy provided. I had no idea it was part of a larger campus here. So I'd heard the name, and then because of those connections, when I started doing my research, I thought, oh, okay, CC Young, that sounds familiar. So I sent a letter with a bunch of questions to Sarah, and she got back to me, and that started our relationship. I will say one of the things that I really appreciated from Sarah is that I had narrowed my research down from about 20 different communities to 8, and one of them being CC Young. And of those 8 that I had planned to come out and visit in May of 2021, Sarah was the only person that maintained a relationship with me, would call me up and just chat with me to keep that connection going before I came out here in May. I had a family event in May, so that's when I had planned to do my visits. And I had, CCM was the 5th of the 8 communities that I visited. And each one I visited, I thought, okay, I could live there. I wasn't really so totally thrilled. But when I came to CC Young, and actually when we walked over to the point, I said, this is where I am going to live. And I did visit the other communities.
Were they CCRCs, or were they just independent?
Some of them were. Some of them were just, they were communities but didn't have the full continuum.
Gotcha.
So it was pretty easy, and originally I was just going to be a rental. And after talking to Sarah and going home, I thought, well, why am I going to be a rental? There are too many other advantages for me personally, because I hoped to have a longer life. And so I sat down, and my sister-in-law and brother were here in town. They live in Austin. And I started talking with them and say, well, wait a minute, it makes more sense to me to do the buy-in. And so I called Sarah up that day and said, I've changed my mind. I had already put down a deposit, and
Somewhere else?
a note deposit at CC Young,
Oh, okay.
but I decided that it makes a lot more sense to me. I called Sarah up and said, can we talk a little bit more? And so this is probably like 5:30 or 6. I've learned since that Sarah's there every day. But I asked her if we could talk again, so I came back to CC Young and made the decision to change.
Oh,
And
from the rental
from the
to
rental
buy-in.
to the
Got
buy-in.
it. Okay.
And have never regretted it. I was living in a condominium in St. Louis, and most of the residents there were millennials and not very friendly. And I felt, especially during COVID, when you really couldn't get out and meet with your friends and so forth, I was feeling kind of isolated. So this has been just wonderful for me. I knew no one except my niece and her family here, but I've made so many friends and have been able to participate in so many activities, and that, I think, when Sarah was talking about, it's a very friendly, low-key environment. That's true. I have never regretted my decision.
Awesome. What would you say would be the misconceptions that most people have about moving into a place like that?
Well, thinking back on my parents, I think that when you think of even independent living, it's one step closer to giving up your independence in a way. My parents moved into an independent senior community, and it was very difficult for my father. My mom loved it, but my father just felt he did not like the idea of having some of his, what he thought, his control over his life taken away. You know,
Like what?
well,
Give us an
like
example.
going to a dining room where everything was a little more structured. My mother loved that because she wasn't making meals. I love it because I'm not making meals. But he was used to doing all of the things himself, but that's what I embraced. I did not want to do those things any longer. I was living by myself. I had all the responsibilities of a condominium that I owned, but it was aging, and I was having problems with the air conditioner and this and that. I was tired of having to deal with all that. Now all I have to do is put in a work order, and those things get taken care of. It's just, to me, it has kind of allowed me to do things I want to do as a senior who's retired. But I think that some people, my job was as a physical therapist working with seniors. So I had been involved in a lot of seniors who had kind of given up their independence. In some ways they were getting sick, and it was really hard for them to move from their independent home that they owned to a different setting. So I would say that, just from my experience.
Just the change.
Yeah, the change.
Navigating
Seniors
that
don't
change.
particularly like a lot of change, but
Okay.
you gotta,
But the
Change.
change is going to come anyway if you're not
Yeah.
able to cook your own meals, right?
yeah, so.
And so your dad wanted your mom to continue to cook.
Yeah, I think
Or was
so.
he going
Yeah.
to cook?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, well, thank you. Could you tell us what a typical day is like for you?
Sure. I get up relatively early, watch my news, then I go over to have breakfast at one of the other buildings, because we can go to any of our independent living restaurants and have our meals. So I tend to go to the Overlook, one of the other independent living buildings. Then I go over to the fitness center and I do the treadmill for 30 minutes. And then I will often get back to my apartment for just a short time. And then I start throughout the day all of the activities. Today is a little slower, but there was, I briefly stopped in, there was a session by one of the director of the Point. He had just been to Israel, and one of the other residents had been to Israel, so they were doing kind of like a travel review of their experiences. Then in the afternoon, there are often some exercise classes or some other classes. This week I've been to a technology class. I've been to an art class. We made sun catchers. And today is also our happy hour day, so I'm glad to be back for happy hour. Seniors love that. But it's almost like the whole day is one thing after another. The problem is there's so many choices, you have to choose one over another, and sometimes that's hard to do. But it's just, my day is filled with fun things that I can control what I'm going to do that day.
Wonderful. Awesome. And last question, what advice might you give to someone who's considering making a move, period?
Well, I think that it's important to start thinking early. Don't wait until I was 67 when I moved to CC Young, and I was newly retired, but I wanted to make sure that my mind was engaged, that physically there were things to do, an environment that was friendly. So think early, don't wait until you can't make those decisions, and then start looking at the community that you're, so I didn't know much about Dallas. I'd never lived in Texas before, but kind of do research of the community that you're going to move to, and there are lots of options. And I started comparing the amenities for one versus another and made a big old spreadsheet so that I knew what,
Wow.
then I could start. There were about 20 places that I initially
10
had
pages of
identified.
questions first.
And then you start narrowing it down. I had narrowed it down to 8. And then it's important, I think, to actually visit to see, because you can't tell by looking at pictures what's really there, because although they all said that there were activities, there weren't the level of activities that I wanted for me.
Expecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then talk to some of the residents, because that'll give you a good flavor of whether or not you're going to fit in, or if they're very formal or casual or whatever, because to me, this was the rest of my life. So I wanted to make the right decisions for me, and I believe I did.
Awesome. Well, now, audience, we're ready for your questions. Do you have any?
I have a question.
Sure.
And this happened with my mother-in-law when she was in independent living, and it came time to move her to assisted living. There was a stigma of knowing all her independent living peers, and then the way that the assisted living was talked about amongst the independent living peers. Do you find that when they're staying in the same place, that there is that resistance to move to the next step?
Well, yeah. I think that I think when I look in the mirror, I don't see myself as being old, but I am, you know. So I think that that's the deal, that they don't view themselves because of their heart. I feel like I'm 21 years old, you know. And so I think that with CC Young, that people do transfer to the next levels of care, but since we're such a small community, I would consider, we only have 200 some residents in independent living, the residents that transfer to assisted living, they go and see them. The residents visit them. Great advocates, you know, great advocates for their care, because they know that could be them next week. And in our campus, people that are in our skilled nursing that are in scooters, they go to the point. Our assisted living residents, they are able to come over to the point. We don't provide assistance to get there. But if an assisted living person comes over to the point, we welcome them. They do the activities with the independent living residents. And so I don't think our stigma at CC Young is so bad because of that. And we have assisted living in our new healthcare building, which is state of the art, Vista, and then beautiful views and beautiful apartments. I mean, they're floor to ceiling windows and nice places. So.
And then they probably know some of each other?
Everybody knows.
So
Campus
they'll
one.
know someone else that's in that assisted living?
Yeah, and then and the residents still invite them back over to have lunch in the independent living, and then if they want to come over, they can eat anywhere. So if they're able to do it, so but a lot of times for safety reasons, security and things like that, they just need to have a little bit extra hands on them, and that's one thing, we really want our residents to be in the proper care. It isn't anything worse than to not have them that way, because it's all about the care and the compassion that we all provide.
And you also have memory?
Yeah, we have everything. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we have everything. Memory care is a secure unit, so
Okay.
our residents have to go to the memory care residents just can't get out and do what assisted living residents do and skilled nursing things, yeah.
Okay. Amandita, how about you with, like a client who's moved to independent, do they call you when it's time to go to the
Yes.
next phase? And how does it work for them?
Sometimes that's really difficult. And you mentioned about change, right? Change is just hard. And I think there is a stigma because it's the parents before them, they didn't have assisted living, they had nursing homes. And it's educational series like this that really sheds light between the difference of assisted living and nursing care. And assisted living is, to me, sometimes I don't know the difference. I could go to an assisted living that looks like an independent living because the people are pretty, I can't tell if a person is completely incontinent, right? But they're still healthy. And then you have independent living that have all the caregiving services that looks like assisted living because there's lots of walkers and wheelchairs. So I just feel that it needs to be more fluid, and it's great to know, I'm learning as well, that in CC Young you can kind of meld the two different populations together. It's a hard thing, and sometimes it takes a long time. But this is what I tell folks who are moving into the next level of care. If they're cognitively able to make decisions, I congratulate them for being part of that decision, because it's harder if somebody else makes that decision for them, right? And if you have friends in independent living who are supportive, I think they will be there visiting you. And so I just think that there's always a positive thing about getting care anywhere, right?
Thank you. Any other questions? How are we
Yes, ma'am.
doing? Go ahead.
Well, first, I want to commend you for what you're doing to expose and educate people, whether you're in the senior community or the masses, much to Amanda's point. I think education is key here at this point, because there's been so much separation between the different levels of care, separation between those of us that are in the senior space. And I think it's about time we all came together to help those that have reached that point that they need care. And I commend you for coming forward, because you have said all the things that need to be said about what it takes to go into senior care. And I applaud you for that.
Yeah, let's give them all a hand. Thank you all for being here. And now we'll just want to thank our legacy partners. We want to thank our panelists. And thank you all for being here. And we hope that you will fill out your sheets. Once they're complete, you get a check, and everyone can use a gift card. Come on. And come back.
And
All
we have
right?
door prizes, I think,
Thank you so much. And Beverly in the back will punch a card for you. And we have them if you didn't get one. And I want to thank the nonprofit. Yeah, we're live streaming. This is our first time, so we didn't mean to ignore you. Sorry. But anyway, give them away. Thank you all for being here, and we'll try to do this more often. We'll see how it goes. Thank you.